Good afternoon and a very warm welcome, super educators. I'm Yugendra Singh from Asian Publishing, and I'm delighted to be your host for today's event. It's a special day because from this session onwards, we officially begin our pedagogy based CPD series, a focused journey into teaching practices that are innovative, engaging, and future ready. At Ashton Publishing, we believe that At Ashton Publishing, we believe that when we empower educators with the right tools, strategies, and inspiration, we empower generations of learners. This new series is designed to help you bring innovation, inquiry, and creativity into your classrooms, fully aligned with NEP 2020 and NCF 2023. Across this series, you will experience sessions that are not just about ideas, but about actionable strategies you can implement immediately. Whether it's through real world applications, inquiry based methods, or creative storytelling. Today, we begin that journey with three transformative sessions, each aimed at equipping you with fresh perspectives and practical approaches to make learning truly impactful. We are thrilled to have you here for a day dedicated to discovering new ways to make our classroom vibrant, engaging, and future ready. And to start, we have project based learning for real world applications, a session that will help you bridge the gap between classroom lessons and real life problem solving, empowering students to learn with purpose and apply knowledge meaningfully. Our speaker, Ms. Surbhi Arora, is an award winning advertist with over 15 years of experience in the education sector. She holds master's degree in education, chemistry, and English, and is a certified career counselor, instructional designer, and Google Microsoft educator. An alumna of IIM Calcutta and IIT, but IIT and Mrs. Arora has trained over 10,000 teachers and hosted more than 4,000 hours of training. She is here to share practical insights on how to make learning active, relevant, and truly memorable. Quick reminder, stay with us till the end for the CPD quiz. Your chance to win Amazon vouchers worth up to 5,000 rupees. Now, some housekeeping rules. Participants will remain muted throughout the entire session. You will be unmuted as required by the speaker, and as discussed, like your so let's welcome back. Hello. So let's get started. Please join me in welcoming the dynamic Miss Surbhi Arora. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you again. Thank you very much. I would like to begin by sharing my screen. Just a second. Hi, teachers. Welcome, all of you. Welcome to this session. I hope all of you have a free afternoon now and you have packed up most of your work for the day. Welcome to the session, and I will be conducting this interesting topic with all of you today, which is project-based learning for real-world application in science. We are going to be engaged together for next 1 hour, so let's be together and we use the chat section as much as possible. I would like you to type your name and city in the chat so that we can know that we have participants from which all areas and who all are joining. It will just give us a quick insight from where you are. I'm joining from Hyderabad, everyone, just so that I also update about myself and you already know my name. It's Surbhi Arora. Hi, Rashida. Hi, Sanya. Hi, Sukanya. I will not be naming everyone, but maybe the few. Vinita, Vidya. Welcome. So we have teachers from Haryana, we have from, I would say, Gujarat. Great. So we also have from Kashmir, Dubai. That's interesting. And then I also have somebody from Hyderabad. Good to know that. Mumbai, Rajasthan. So I think we are almost covered across the country right now. We have from Tamil Nadu, we have from Delhi. Okay. Welcome. Tuticorin, and then we have from Kerala. Okay, welcome everyone. Anjali, Sonia, welcome everyone, and welcome to this session. We will be using chat section quite often, so please be engaged and participate with all the questions that you may have. I will just keep some 3 to 4 minutes aside for any kind of different questions you may have. I'm not able to address in the chat, though I will try to answer whatever I could in the chat section whenever possible. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's talk about what are we going to achieve today in this session. Well, when we talk about project-based learning, we will be transferring ourselves from knowing to doing. That's what we are going to do. And we will be discussing about a practical guide of how we can work with students in grade 1 to 8. We will be referring to certain principles aligning us with new education policy, and then we will be talking about solving problems. So let's talk about solving real world problems. And while we enter into it, a quick question for all of you. What is learning? What is learning according to you? What do you think is learning? A 2 or 3 word response would be fine for us. Niyati says it's to acquire knowledge, and Smita says to grasp new things. Great. Acquire new knowledge, grasp new things. We have got this answer. Okay. Gaining knowledge, knowing new and skills. Life skills is also learning. Beautiful, Shanto. Others, what is learning? Okay, Mona Lisa has also given us an interesting answer. New learning. Okay, Namita just played with my own words. Fine. So we have few answers of what learning is all about and what is learning to acquire knowledge or to acquire knowledge. In project-based learning, we will be talking more about how that knowledge can be acquired using projects in picture. But before that, we'll try to understand how this works and how we can make our classrooms turn into laboratories or turn into practical experiences for our students. That's what we're going to acquire today in today's session. We'll start with a very interesting story. It's a story I think known to most of you. It's about Mangalyaan. It was a huge mission, and we all know about it. It was a challenge, Mars on a tiny budget. So we were asked to run the Mangalyaan mission, and many of you would have already watched the movie and have a bit of an idea about it. And we had a very clear goal, a dedicated team, and the mission was to place ourselves into that orbital nature around with Mangalyaan into the Mars mission. A team designed, tested, and solved problem. But the challenge was that the budget was less than a Hollywood movie budget. That was the biggest challenge. And doing all that was India's biggest science project. While we all did that and we achieved that. It's an example of a national level science project or national level project based learning, which had impact as a final product of Mangalyaan and which had impact on, not even thousands or millions or billions of lives, I would rather say. Now, I would like you to give me a one word for Mangalyaan that comes in your mind when you think about Mangalyaan. One word that comes in your mind. What comes in your mind when you think about Mangalyaan? Okay, I hope you all have the rights to type in the chat section. What's one word that comes in your mind when you think about Mangalyaan? Okay, Ritu wants to say something. Yes, Ritu?
Good afternoon, ma'am. The
Yeah.
chat section is disabled. We can't post any answers.
Okay, thank you very much. Somebody from the team,
Thank
can you please
you.
look into it? Thanks a lot. Thank you for sharing. Yogendra or somebody, can you please look into the chat section? Okay, thanks. Mission. Okay, mission is the word that I'm actually getting. Winning. I see ISRO brilliance, proud movement, innovation. APJ Abdul Kalam, sir. Yes, that for sure comes into our mind. So, new place, a challenge, an experience, magic. I love the word magic. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so exploring the space. So, we think about all those projects, and then this comes in our mind. Now, there's another story, a very interesting story. I'm not sure how many of you are aware about this story, but I would love to share. of Arvind Eye Care Center. It's an interesting story. If some of you know about it already, that's great, but I would love to share the story. There was a problem, the millions with curable blindness, which when I say curable blindness, something that we can actually cure, but then we don't have the manpower, the team, the efficiency to actually make it happen. Now, and I'm talking about cataract as a problem over here. The question was how to provide affordable, high quality surgery. We again go back how to provide affordable, high quality surgery. And then there is a genius, Dr. Venkat Swami. He designed a new efficient process. He actually took inspiration from when we talk about the line alignment system, and he took inspiration from McDonald's, to be fair. And then he designed a process, a product around it, which can be used to help out millions of people to have their surgeries done in a quick way, in a more efficient way, and a more economical way. And he designed a product which was actually a system that gives sight to millions. Now, when you hear about it, what comes into your mind? What did he design? What do you think did he design? Anything that comes to your mind? What exactly did he design? It was innovation, laser, tool. Good afternoon, Sandeep. Let's go with the answers. Niyati says tool, revolutionary invention. Yes. Technology for the masses. Okay. We have answers coming up. In the meantime, I would say he designed a product which was actually a process that he built up to make the complete process and the journey of surgery pretty easy. And it's I would love you to go back and look into the case study that I've shared with you if you don't know about it. A stick. So we are getting so basically designed a process which was the actual product. Now, when we talk about all this, what real world problems your students often talk about? Do you have classrooms? Do you have sessions with your students when you're actually discussing real world problems? Do you have those sessions with your children when you discuss real world problems? What problems, as teachers, as students, you discuss with each other that these are the real world problems that should be spoken about, that should be helped out? Recently, I saw a lot of rains, and then there were a lot of questions coming up in my mind and my kids' mind. Traffic, okay, Remit says one thing. Let's talk about real world problems, Ritu, if possible. Huge tech tools, pollution, terrorism, yes. Efficient architecture, flood garbage, yes. Only bookish knowledge, no access to real world knowledge. That's what Urvashi is saying, an honest answer. Distraction, okay, that's a nice one. Disasters, social problems and solutions through STEM, okay, learning difficulties, cleanliness. So a lot of, if there is an opportunity in the classroom and all of you get an opportunity, then there can be an opportunity to at least mention that, okay, why, all this during the recent rains and floods that we have encountered, there could have been, and I hope everyone is safe and sound from all the places that you're joining right now, and things are better now for everyone. But this is something which we can be discussing about in our classroom. Now, when we talk about the NEP and project-based learning link, we talk about NEP stresses how students learn not just PBL, but operationalizes NEP. So PBL helps us out to operationalize it. Students investigate real-world problems, they demonstrate competencies, they make art-integrated public products, we assess with rubrics, and we can also often link to SDGs and SEVA parameters. So NEP by default is able to function properly with the help of project-based learning. So if you're already thinking about your portfolios, this can be a good session for all of you. Now, let's talk more about it. The Mars Mission Challenge, when we spoke about. Now, imagine your eighth grade students walk into the classroom and now you announce NASA has selected our school to design a sustainable habitat for Mars colonists. You have 6 weeks to present your solution to aerospace engineers. Now imagine that is what you enter into the class with, or that is what a kind of a story you go inside a class with. Now, what is the first word or what is the reaction do you expect that is going to come in the classroom? What is the reaction when you go back to your students and tell them that, okay, we are going to have this project and we're going to solution a habitat solution for Mars? What is the reaction we are expecting? Disbelief, okay. Anusha says excitement. Good afternoon, Neeta. We have let's go, so Ritu says. Wow movement. That will be another interesting thing. Great chance. Curious to know more. Eagerly exciting. Yes. So that's what we are going to see in the classrooms when we have our students and the mass mission getting highlighted. A wow moment. Yes, Abhishek, it would be a wow moment. Now, when we talk about it, this is all excitement. That's how we even start. How do we even start with it? That's the excitement that will be there. That's the magic of project-based learning. Today, we are going to turn your science classroom into a launchpad for real-world problem solvers. So I hope all of you are ready to be part of that launchpad and be part of how we can turn into it. Now, any project or any theoretical part we begin with, let's have a small historical context and some theory to understand it. When we talk about PBL roots and evolution, in 1900s, John Dwyer started with the philosophy of learning by doing. We learn geology the way geologists learn geology. That's the philosophical background we used to have. And then we used to talk about medical schools in 1960s adopted problem based learning, that let's think about diagnosing real patient cases and think about what are we going to exactly do in that particular case. In 1990s, technology actually enabled authentic research for all of us, internet connected classroom to global problems, and then we started thinking about it. However, when we entered into 2000s and then we started talking about it, we were talking about STEM education and crisis driven project based learning adoption, need for critical thinking and collaboration. So, STEM kind of enabled for all of us that how can we run projects that can be globally impactful and can give solutions to not just us, but to everyone who is around. So, when we talk about the project based learning, it is a student centered approach where learners actively explore real world challenges through inquiry, through culminating in authentic products or solution. We'll be talking about inquiry in the next session that we have planned for today, and we'll go in much more depth over there. Now, when we talk about project-based learning framework, I would like you to take a screenshot of this particular slide and this particular segment that I've mentioned. I will keep it for a while so that you can take a screenshot. A quick picture may be useful. You remember the word drive. So drive is an acronym that I've created to help you out to understand project-based learning properly. Now, the first thing any project has to begin with has to have a driving question, a DQ. So I will be using, a phrase DQ or an acronym DQ everywhere so that you understand. We will be, by end of the session, I will give you certain templates, certain samples that you can keep with yourself and you can actually run these in your classrooms. Now, when we talk about a driving question, it has to be essential. It has to be open-ended. Please remember that. We have to have some real-world connection. It has to have some authentic context. For instance, how can we actually solve the waterlogging problem during rains, which happens, and till what level can be. So we are talking about waterlogging, but then we have to also pick up a situation that has happened in the past to take references from. We talk about inquiry and investigation, which will be a student-led research. You should have an opportunity to voice out and bring choices. Students should be in a position to bring their own choices, and then a public presentation of learning is one of the most important part when we will be talking about project-based learning. So I would love you to quickly just kind of tell me which element do you think students struggle with the most? I've given you some elements. What do you think students struggle with the most? Do you struggle with question, there's research, a choice, or a presentation? What do you think is more of a struggle? Niyati says research. Okay, Niyati is quite active. Amriti says, Ritu says choice. Then we have questions. Okay. Jaspal says choice first. Okay. Research, presentation, how to start, the beginning. The first question, what exactly is the problem that I'm solving? Okay, so we have a mixed opinion with for our research and questions, but many of us are still putting our, foot over the question part and presentation. I could see a lot of people are talking about. I think based on the age group your students belong to, the choices can differ over here. Now let's understand further more into the project-based cycle we talk about. I would like to put a briefing and a short understanding of what project-based learning is so that we can quickly understand it. Remember, it's a sustained process of learning. It starts with real engaging problem. Student create a public product. You have to remember it's a public product or solution. You're not asking them to make a model which is just into a setup. You are actually giving a solution for a larger public. And the project is the main course, not the dessert. So it's not like they have to work on some other theoretic part and project is just a part of it. No, project is the main course. Just remember that. So that's what we will be focusing on. Let's understand the difference with the help of more difference with the help of a traditional project versus a project-based learning. I think the image gives you a very interesting idea. So now in a normal project, I will ask students, okay, I would like you to make a volcano and then talk about it and explain how a volcano functions. Now, in a project-based learning, I can talk about the parameters or how do I help nations which have a lot of volcanoes, and how do we make sure that public is uh, made aware about the eruptions or the disruptions related to volcanoes on time. That will be more on a project-based learning, or how the volcanic eruptions are lead to the disasters, and how can we have a disaster maintenance mechanism related to volcanoes. Now that will be a project that I'm going, and they can create a sample project of a volcano in it, but the main project will be towards talking about the disaster management that we have. So in a traditional project, a model or a report or a show and tell will function, but in a project-based learning, you have to solve a problem and then share it. So your focus will be towards solving and sharing. Traditional practices are often done at home all alone, but however, when you are running a project-based learning, you have to conduct it in the school setup because you have to allow them to be part of a team, and it becomes really difficult if you give a team project to be done at home. Obviously, there's a lot of parental scrutiny that also happens, and it's difficult to coordinate. Now, yes, Tina, it is about discussing the children from known to unknown part also. And yes, Pauline, local issues can be selected, and they work better than selecting something at a global level because students have much more awareness about them. Now, quickly answer this question. Is PBL show and tell or solve and share? So what have you understood? Is it a show and tell or solve and share? Quickly. Okay. I'm glad to know that you have answered. So I'm going to ask questions as soon as I finish a slide so that I can be aware that you are participating and you are answering the questions that I'm asking and you are paying attention. Great. I love this beautiful illustration that I have created for you. I'm just pampering myself. But if you see, it's more about local. So these three images kind of demonstrate how we are working on the problem. So there is a waterlogging problem. There is an impure water problem. And the teacher and the students work towards creating a mechanism of solving this problem. And finally, there has to be a demonstration in public in one way or the other, solving what is the mechanism or what is the way we have created to solve that particular problem. So I would rather call it local to global to understand it. Uh, I have some of you, Priyanka, it would be more of show and tell will be the last part of it, but it's more about solving and sharing, the previous question. Okay, now quickly, if we understand it, from classwork to public product is the ultimate aim that we want to achieve. Do science that improves something outside the classroom. That's what we are trying to achieve in a project-based learning. Now, when we talk about a traditional and a project-based setup, it's more traditionals are usually teacher-directed, project will be student-driven, traditional will be content-focused, project will be problem-focused. You will be working on individual work in traditional, but in project, it has to be collaborative. Now, the most important part is in traditional, there is only one right answer most of the times, but in project-based learning, you will have multiple solutions and multiple correct answers that will come up. Now, this in project-based learning, we are actually demonstrating the product and product is demonstrating the learning. However, in traditional method, we are just testing the learning that has happened. So that's why it becomes extremely important and different to understand this setup. Now, I would love you to understand furthermore things. In case of project-based learning, learning is through a project, not after the project. It has to be authentic, purpose, and audience. And there has to be planned milestones, and a public product is a must that we are going to have. I would love you to remember PBL doesn't replace content. It gives content a purpose. So it's not that if I'm doing a project-based learning, I'm not have doing any kind of theoretical learning. It's actually giving a purpose to your theoretical learning, that why exactly am I doing this particular learning or a particular theory that I have been given to me. Now, we plan milestone. You have to assign roles and checkpoints. We will be talking about all these points further in the slides. So don't get confused that I've not mentioned these points and you can't understand it. Just calm down and we will be talking about all these points further. And also the kind of misconceptions we usually have with project-based learning. Thank you, Achla, for sharing a summary of whatever points that I've actually shared by far. Now we'll go ahead and talk about a teacher's role. Can you just tell me your understanding, what according to you is the teacher's role in a project-based learning? I am not on mute, Mehraj. Okay. Can somebody tell me that what exactly a facilitator to ignite, okay, show and guide, guiding and probing questions, to be a mentor, creative curiosity, facilitator, active involvement, okay, provoke to solve the guiding students, caring, okay, caring is a sweet word. I think we can never get out of that role, I believe. Should give guidance, to guide. Beautiful illustrated, everyone. So let's see what exactly do I mean when I say my teacher is my architect. My teacher is not just a teacher in a project-based learning parameter. You have to shift from being a lecturer to a project manager. Now that may be a new word for many of you, but we have to understand. So let's imagine in a way that your school has asked you to host the annual function for this year, and then you are the manager for that complete annual function. In the same way, in a project-based learning, you are actually a manager for all the projects that are going to happen. And gradually, you have to kind of delegate that job of being a manager to someone else in the project who will be running it. So you are more of a project manager in this case. You are from an expert to a co-learner. So you will be actively participating in the learning part, and you will not say, no, 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 this is not correct. You have to do it in this way. So you're not that person who is going to correct everything. You are a person who is going to understand from the problem that what learnings we are actually having. The most difficult part in today's session that we are talking about being in a project-based learning and inquiry is, as a teacher, how can you just restrain yourself from not participating in giving child the correct answer? We teachers are in a very bad habit that will go ahead and tell them the actual answer and then spoil the whole journey of learning. You design the challenge and the timeline for them. You manage resources and facilitate teamwork for them. So you're the one who is actually managing everything for them along with the timelines that we will be assigning them. You connect students with experts. So you yourself will not act as an expert, but maybe you will actually look for departments, look for agencies who can help you out, who can help students in the complete process of learning. Uh, Okay, so we have a lot of questions and answers coming up. So ultimately, what do you understand from what I've shared? Is a teacher, you are a lecturer or a manager? Okay, thanks, Aishwarya. That was quick. Great. So we have coming up, people participating. Yes, you are a manager of the session. You are not the lecturer of the session. Let's go ahead and move ahead and learn more about how we can talk about PBL and why PBL is important. Okay, why do you think project-based learning is actually important? No, Priyanka, again, you are the not the lecturer, but the manager. I'm being a teacher here, and so I will be correcting wherever I can. Develops. Okay, so we have some answers coming up. I'm not going to read all the answers. I think you people are just stealing away the answers when I share them with you. Okay, somebody says so that say that I forgot to remember, involve, I understand. Uh, okay. Okay, Sanchita, I hope this is not, you have taken so much pain to type that answer. Okay. So we have a lot of answers coming up, and people, no cheating and no answers from internet. Okay. I just need your actual answers coming up over here. Great. So creativity, collaboration, a lot of skills have come up. Let me just go into the theory part quickly over here. When we talk about the benefits, we are talking about, yes, the 21st century skills. Students are able to develop critical thinking. There's a lot of collaboration involved in all these projects. There's a lot of communication involved in all these projects. And there's a lot of creativity required to run all these projects. Finally, there's also a lot of digital literacy. So the 21st century skills we keep on, the 4C and the digital literacy that we talk about, they are actually highly involved and integrated as part of a project learn. It's very difficult to say in this project which one skill is not used. Usually it covers all the skills that I've actually mentioned. And yes, Sonal, it's also a part of experiential learning that students are going to experience through learning. Now, when we talk about the academic benefits, you will see that your students have 89% of more of engagement. You will see content retention is more, and that's why we keep on saying that have project based learning. I know you will come up with a lot of answers, and ma'am, there's no time, how do I finish my curriculum? We'll come back to that particular challenge and problem later. That's a different problem to solve after 2 to 3 slides that we will be coming up towards. But we have academic gains, and we cannot deny that. All of you will agree to at least one thing, that it has benefits, stating that we had much more time in our hands. And it also leads to equity, levels up the playing field. I once had a situation where we actually tested the students who were not participating that actively in the academic content of the classroom. They were very good participating project-based learning scenario that we had with them. So I would for sure say that it has a very strong equity level in terms of academic learning. And finally, we talk about career readiness. You have students who are ready to work with an entrepreneurial mindset. You have students who are actually ready to work into they have their portfolios developed. You can actually create portfolios for your students. You have some networks, you have an entrepreneurial mindset. That's how we run a project. Now, what skill comes to your mind that you think students need the most? Some of you have already read it, what's written on the screen. Okay, thinking, teamwork, speaking, or creating. All is a easy answer. Let's pick up one. It's difficult to think, it's difficult to work in a team, speaking or creating. Proper understanding. Okay, I would go for teamwork from my end, because I've always seen that, getting into consensus and learning to appreciate other people's suggestions and ideas is a very difficult task. Even in adults, we face this trouble. So I believe students can learn that at least through this project. Now, someone wanted me to show the previous slide. I'm going to quickly show you the slide, because just give me a second. It's a very, if you want to take a screenshot, just quickly take it. I will enter into the next slide. Okay, I'm going ahead. Fine. Let's go ahead. And now let's talk about certain alignments for future ready work. It's a lot of theory. You can just quickly understand it. When we talk about word alignments, they are going to have jobs which will not exist, and all of us are worried about it. So we need to have student mindset shifted towards problem solving, collaboration, adaptability, and global awareness is needed for any kind of future jobs that we are thinking about. Now, we'll enter into the main section, that if you have to conduct project-based learning in the classroom, what are the core elements that you actually require? So please remember, there are two core elements that I'm going to discuss, but the rest of the elements we can't discuss in a 1 hour workshop. So I'm going to give you some templates and some sample cheat sheets, kind of a structure that you can follow in your classroom. First, let's go with the core element, which is my favorite one, that is about the driving question, or the DQ, that I spoke to you about. Now, when we talk about the driving question, please remember, it is the heart of the project. Please make a note, DQ, driving question. It has to be heart of the project. If your driving question is not interesting, if your driving question is not something a student is solving problems on, they will lose interest pretty quickly. The second thing, it's open-ended and challenging and engaging. Your driving question has to be open-ended, challenging, and engaging. Third, we talk about how can we as students, scientists, design a better waste management system for our school? Supposing we think about this question, how can we design a better waste management system for our students or our school that can be an interesting way, connects to curriculum and real world issues, and that's what will be your driving question. So please remember the words and that the phrases that I've mentioned on the screen. It has to make sure that it's connected to real world issue, and it has to be open-ended, challenging, and engaging at the same time. So now I think you can answer this particular question that is coming on your screen. What is more important, open-ended or closed-ended questions as per project-based learning and as per any learning, I would rather say. Thank God we all agree to it. Open-ended. But unfortunately, most of our academic question papers are not open-ended. They are actually badly closed-ended in the way structure we have created. But we all agree that learning happens badly and widely when we are just limited to closed-ended. Yes, open-ended is the correct answer for this particular question. Now, let's go to the second core element that I wanted to talk about which was, having an audience when we talk about public product for an audience. And why do you think that a public product for an audience is important? Before we go there, why do you think a public product for an audience is an important entity of the whole project-based learning approach? A very beautiful answer, socially connected. Oh my goodness, somebody is just typing open-ended, Seema. Manu, I hope this is not a mistake. Need for this to focus on problem solving for the society, okay? To elaborate our own views, to connect and share, beautiful. Why do we need our audience? Why do students need to present it in front of an audience? Okay. Okay, I've got a lot of answer. Let's see what I have on motivation. And now that's somewhere I'm going. A motivation is something which comes back, and feedback is something which comes back. There has to be a driving force. Okay, what exactly is finally I'm going to do with the product that I'm creating? Product creation is like art. If you've created something, you need to showcase it so that you feel motivated to work more in that direction and work towards it with an aim. Students create something tangible and it's shared beyond the classroom. So you don't have to limit it just in the classroom. So when you are creating a project-based learning project, have an opportunity that maybe they can showcase it in front of the parents or in a school assembly or maybe into the different grades to students of younger grades or higher grades. They have that opportunity to share their projects. Or maybe some website where you want to post and create a web page dedicated to all the projects your students are doing. It can be, your audience can be anything, classes, parents, principal. The audience makes the work feel real and important for our students. That's the reason we talk about it. For extrinsic validity, yes, Anusha, that makes it tangible enough for them that yes, that I have done something and I've achieved something. So we will all agree, audience matters, yes or no. You can do a thumbs up also if you all agree with that, or a yes or a no. You can use the emojis also if they are available. Yes, I have some of the emojis available. Yes, so we all agree that audience matters. Now, while we have discussed about the core elements, let's talk about some samples template that we can use while we are working with our children. Now, for instance, there is a driving question. How might we purify muddy water safely at home? That's one driving question. And the product that students need to work upon. So this is a template that I'm giving you. There has to be a DQ, there has to be a product, there has to be content, materials, and assessment, how we are going to assess it. So during the beginning of the process itself, you should have your assessment criteria very clear. It is almost like, test to pass kind of a thing that, okay, if this is done, then you are passing in this particular project or this particular project has achieved the scale it has to. Now, we have to understand that in real world also there are acceptability criteria for a project to pass. So that's what we are trying to achieve over here. Now in this, I will just discuss one template and then you can take screenshots of other templates so that we are just focused on the time frame that we want to finish everything on. We have our working filter prototype and some bilingual infographic that has to be done. Mixtures, filtration, variables, fair test is something that they have to create. Then there has to be a PET bottle, a cloth, sand, gravel, charcoal, whatever options that you have. Uh, uh, okay, and then rubric. Naga has a question. Hypothesis is also important. Naga, we will be discussing about more about it in inquiry-based learning. In case of project-based learning, we are talking more towards the driving question. And yes, based on scientific thinking, you can keep on adding a lot of stuff to whatever you want to do, and you can just mix two, three more different approaches together to have a wonderful project. That's up to you as a teacher. So yes, we can do that. Now, in this particular project, student build 2 to 3 filter design, test the same muddy water, measure clarity using a text visibility scale or a turbidity proxy. So that's what we try to work with the students, and they compare design and explain why one worked better. So this is more like a parent, and create a parent friendly infographic which they can project or showcase in front of everyone. Now, when we talk about materials, for instance, 2 materials that you will use, I think we can skip on this part and go to the next one to make it better. I think this particular question will be much better for all of you to participate. The first one was an easy one. Now, this particular one is more created with a reference of grade 6 to 8. So identifying the heat islands or hottest hotspot in the campus. So there's a project, where is a campus hottest and why? So students have to identify. It's a project in which they have to move around. Now, why a campus? Because campus is much more of a safer environment than to ask them to do it in a city or some other area. Now, they have to talk about radiation, they have to talk about microclimates, and they have to talk about various other words, and they have to do about it. So team measure different surfaces, different path, and at the same time, for fairness, they calculate averages, discuss sources of errors, and propose a low budget project. Okay, this is what I can do to have maintain the temperature across the sections, and then maybe give one hotspot on your campus, that okay, rooftop, courtyard, assembly. I would like you to take sample pictures for these ones, because these are just samples for you to understand that what kind of projects we can do. There's another samples, how can families check for common adult trends. So what we can do in a household, in our ways to check what kind of adult trends are there. For instance, milk is a regular product, cheese is a regular product, turmeric is a regular product to use at home, and students can actually run testing, and then we can begin with the questions like, okay, one item to test, so what exactly will you do, or what are the common interests, and then the teacher can drive the whole discussion. So this is the first flow, or the first thing we try to do. Okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is a template. Now, how do we make templates which are much more elaborated in nature? So we'll understand a structure now. But before we understand the structure, uh, what do you think is your biggest fear when you are running a project-based learning segment? What is your biggest fear as a teacher? I know that most of you don't run it. And what is your biggest fear as a teacher? Because we are left with last 15 minutes, and last 15 minutes, I'm going to focus upon how can we get rid of those fears by giving you some practical solutions. Collaboration, time, not getting expected outcomes, involving all students, driving question, yes, safety, truly said, time management, syllabus. I wish there was a way out of it for all of you. Children's response, and at times I think parents' response also, how parents are going to react about it, how my coordinator is going to react about it, how my principal is going to react about it. Without the complete ecosystem, it becomes so difficult to run a project-based learning project. Time and other things we can still manage, but you need an ecosystem. So a lot of all of you have time, grading, kiosk, kits, a lot of things that keeps on happening in the classroom. So what we will try to talk about is that some of us may say that one project needs weeks, it's too costly, then it may be hard to grade. It may be only for toppers, that only the brilliant students can actually work on the projects and others cannot. I don't like the word toppers itself in myself, because it's so much of class division in that way for students. But yeah, but that's what we use most of the time in the classroom. Now, correction work. Yes, so a lot of problems are there. I'm just picking up on 4 of these, which I've seen happening and being discussed by teachers most of the time, and talking about it. Now, for instance, if we it need weeks, we are going to have a structure discussed today, which is like 5 to 7 period, or a mini project-based learning project that we can do, which you can finish in 5 to 7 periods. Now, you would say that, ma'am, 5 to 7 periods in an annual calendar, very difficult to get, but teachers, that's something which you will need at least for running a project-based learning project. It's too costly. We can use junkyard kits and community. I will teach you how to create one. We can also have a 3 by 3 rubric and 3 checkpoints that I'm going to share with you today. When I start doing it, I would like you to take screenshots of everything that I'm going to share beyond this slide now, because all that is going to be important for you. And then there can be some roles and scaffolds that we can discuss, which can help us in making sure that all the students are getting an equal opportunity. Now, let's start with 5 to 7 period with mini project-based learning blueprint. First day, you start with hook and driving question and success criteria. Second day, we plan roles, we do a quick research. Day 3, we enter into, or day 3 and 4, investigate or build plus some checkpoints. Day Then further we talk about creating a rough product, or have our peers giving us feedback on what we have done. Is it looking nice or it's not looking nice? Then we talk about revising and sharing it public, and then finally we reflect upon it using a 5 to 10 quick questions or quiz that we can generate for our students to understand that how much have they understood in the whole project line. So that's what we can do in the whole project plan that we can bring with our students. I would like you to take a quick screenshot of what I'm sharing right now. Now, this is a schedule that you can compress to 5 periods or 6 to 7 periods, depending on what exactly you have for your students. And then we can have different checkpoints. We'll discuss about checkpoints in details now in further slides. Now, I hope you have taken a screenshot of this one. I'm just giving 2 more seconds. Now, the second problem we talked about was too costly. Now, this is a sample that I've shared with you that you can create using a junkyard. Your local Raddiwala Bhaiya has everything. And I would rather say most of the 90% of the things are available at home. Students have everything. I usually do one thing, like I travel a lot because of my science session. So what I've done is I've created my own mini kits, that these are the same kind of material I can keep on using for science experiments. And I would rather say you can ask students to create their own mini kits that they can use in the classrooms and they can use with themselves. That can be very clear and very easy for them. Now, I hope it's clear. I'm so sorry. I think it's clear on my screen. If you're joining from phone, it can be difficult. Just take a screenshot and later maybe you can just look into it. It will become difficult even if I zoom it, it is actually difficult to elaborate on. It's a very big table. So yeah, now, let's go to the third one, hard to grade. Now, please make a note of this rubric that I'm sharing with you. Now, this is a rubric that you can actually use with your students while you're grading them. So you can just give them how much I'm going to grade you on evidence, science idea, on evidence, and on communication. I will give you just an example. You can divide the whole rubric into 4, 4, 2, and like it's like total marks. If you want to make it 100 marks, just work on the percentages and divide uh, accordingly. Now, supposingly the science idea was, partially correct or incorrect, or it was vocabulary was misused. So in the first day, when they're bringing up the idea, you can start judging them, tell them, okay, you are at an emerging scale, but now you have to reach at an advanced level. So that rubric can be pasted in the classroom itself way in advance, so they can go back and check and they can validate with each other and with peers in the beginning itself. For instance, look at this evidence and data. It is well analyzed, averages and comparisons are there, sources of error are well noted. So this is also a way in which you can actually work with your children and you can provide them with all the ideas. So I'm sharing the rubric, which you can just take as a screenshot and you can use with your children on later stages. Further, we may have, yes, sharing rubrics is important, extremely important, because you have a direction then that, okay, this is the direction I'm going. Most of the time I've seen the projects, they end up into just turning it into craft works. Most of the project just become craft works without clarity. Students will focus more on the art part of it and not at all focus on the science part of it. That the ultimate focus is talking about the problem and the solution. The ultimate agenda was not talking about how beautifully you have designed it. That was not about it. Just a prototype. It can be worked upon. So yes, rubrics will be extremely important. I'm just giving you a sample. Feel free to design one of your own. Now, going further, checkpoints. Now, please remember, I've told you 4 ideas. One, we will create a mini plan. Second, we are talking about rubrics. Third, I'm talking about checkpoints. Now, how do you make checkpoints? Okay, did my child submit a photo proof? Did my child create a 1 minute memo or 3 lines about what they have done? Have they given the data properly? So these are the 3 major checkpoints that you put up. Now, how do you further work on the checkpoints? Now, what we do is, uh, so how do you do that? Uh, Now, supposing a student submitted 2 label photos plus 1 caption each, what you look for? Setup correctness, safety, variable control. So you're actually mention certain points in your mind. Setup is okay, tighten control, retake photo. Now, stamp words should be there. You should already create a parameter, a scale in which you're actually mentioning everyone. Now, the perfect Chopra has one interesting point. The rubric is very tedious for teacher. Yes, it is. Only if you're doing it once again, again and again. I would rather use an Excel file with all my students' name listed and then the rubric or all the groups listed. And at one go, I'm going to give them marks according to that rubric. Now, with technology, you can make the task pretty easy. But yes, if you're going with the manual front, it becomes difficult. However, if you don't go with the rubric, then you are just going in on your instinct ki, mujhe acha lag raha hai, okay, I like it. Now let me give this marks. Okay, I like it. I will give it a 3. I will give it a 2. So rubric is extremely important. Without rubric, you cannot do justice to the effort your students have added. And these checkpoints, remember these checkpoints, photo proof, 1 minute memo, and data spot check. For instance, units were there, the average was well calculated, the trend is showing okay results. So you put a tick and then say, this is already done. So you can always create your data points well in advance. These are the data points I'm going to pass my students upon. Now, further, we are just going to quickly finish it, and then there's a ready-made worksheet that you can have. So team A, team B, how many marks you're giving them, how many marks they have gotten quiz, and what is the total marks. Now, this makes your record keeping pretty easy. So you have done a project which can actually be added as part of a school assessment, also as part of your formative assessment or whatever assessments you're actually doing. It makes the task pretty easy and useful for all of you. So that's the final thing that you can do to close the project, and it can turn into a project which can be easily graded. So those who say that we don't do projects because difficult to grade, trust me, we as teachers can turn anything into a project which can be graded. Okay. So I can see some of you are sharing your names and information. Thank you for sharing. But I think we are almost in the end of the session. And let's talk about certain ideas that I would love to share with you in the template. So I have some templates. So we'll close by me showing you the templates and you can take screenshots. Now, there is also one interesting thing I would love to add, which I've tried and I would love you to try if possible, which is using roll cards and scaffolds. Now, when we talk about roll cards and scaffolds, what do we do? For instance, you can give them roll cards. You are a project manager. So you can give them cards, and if there's a team of 4 or 5, they can just assign the roles according to their understanding and their discussion amongst each other. So some of them can be project managers, some of them can be lead investigators, some of them can be designers, and some of them can be reporter. So this is a simple way in which you can assign the role. Now, next time when you're running a second project, rotate the roles. Do not let the same student to have the same role throughout, but one project, one role functions as a pretty good idea. However, if you want to keep on changing roles, then it has to be strategically designed. It's very difficult to do it, trust me. So it has to be strategically designed and well planned in advance. Now, there has to be certain hints that you have to give to your students. For instance, we think because, or we changed because, or best evidence I can find is. So you have to give these hints. I remember my daughter attending one of the session, and then somebody asked them in a writing passage that, okay, what is the evidence that you have? And my daughter was, Mama, what is an evidence? So these students need to be shown and shared samples of what is an evidence, what exactly is a good statement, and that can act as a reference, and not just one statement, multiple statements, because then they're going to copy it all together. So somebody has a question, only science teacher, or yes, teachers of other subjects also, but the strategy may be slightly different. The rubric will be different, but teachers of other subjects can also apply it. But what I have designed today is strictly in according to the teacher of, specifically the science background. Now, finally, imagine this voice in a classroom and a student talking about, in regular class, I memorize for the test and forget. In PBL, I use science to solve problems I care about. I remember everything because it mattered. And that's what the complete project-based learning is all about. You solve problems which matter because you solve problems which are very close to you, which are around you, and that's what you're trying to do. Okay, so starting your PBL lesson, let's quickly run a structure. Week 1, week 2, and then week 5. I would like you to take screenshot while I'm reading it so that we don't have any problem. Choose one upcoming unit, and you can just take a screenshot of this one. We are just left with 4 minutes. So I want to quickly wrap up on time. And this is just a structure. I've already given you a 1 week mini lesson structure, but if you want to do it in a well research format, so this is a complete layout structure. You finish one project in 1 month approximately. That's what we do. We can also go ahead and talk about one more thing, which are sample templates. So quickly, let's take a look at sample templates. Now, this is the first one that I have for you. So please take a screenshot of this one. This is a driving question STEM bank that I have created for all of you. So you have to write. So I told you that you have to write a memo in the beginning. Your students will create it. How can we, and then you write the role, design a dash to help dash with this dash. That's the problem. Take a screenshot of this one. This will be useful for you. How can we create, build, invent a solution for? How can we improve the situation of? What is the best way to? And how can we raise awareness about? That's what you can do. The second template, again, take a screenshot of it. You will give a sample to your students, project title, grading level, driving questions, then main questions that you're covering, final public product, authentic audience, who will they share it with what, and then project timelines that you're giving to them. Ki first week do this, second week do this, third week. So you are actually giving a template. So students will actually submit this during this before they start with the project. And I hope you have taken a screenshot. And then the next one, I think that's the final one I had. Yeah. Simple PBL rubric. I've given you one rubric, which was a small one, a 3 by 3. That's a quickie. That's a rubric we do in a very quick fashion with our students that you can use. And this one is another one. You can take a screenshot of this one also. Okay. Fine. And then beyond just a product or a, most of the time we think that a project is always something you're creating in a 3D format. No, you can have proposals and persuasive letters. You can ask them to create guides and manuals. For instance, how do you run a SOP in maintaining the complete cleanliness of your school? Awareness campaigns, digital products, physical inventions, and community events can also be part of the project-based learning final product demonstration that you're doing for your children. So yes, teachers, this was most of it. And final takeaway for all of you before we finish this session, please make sure you identify one science unit you want to cover in PBL, draft a driving question, and launch your first project in the coming week or in this month. I would love you to hear from all of you in the next time when we connect, not in today's session, but maybe 1 month apart or so. If you're able to connect, would love to hear from all of you. So thank you very much for the participation. And in case anyone has to say anything, I'm good to go ahead.
Thank you so much, Survi ma'am, for such an insightful and inspiring session. So up next, participants, if you have any question that you want to ask, you can put your questions in the chat box. Ma'am will be answering your questions. Any question if you have? So ma'am, we are getting a lot of very positive feedbacks for your session. We are not having any question to ask.
How to implement it in KG level. KG, you can do it, but you can go with very small projects of, okay, how do you think that how should I actually manage my school bag, or how do we should plan, the class stationery. So that can be the kind of projects. I'm so sorry, but I will not be in a position to give you the answers for subject-wise information. Internet is full of free information. Go ahead and steal from there.
Thank you, Survi ma'am, for that inspiring start. You have shown us that when students work on meaningful projects, they don't just learn, they grow, explore, and create solutions for the real world. Participants, to receive your e-certificate, please fill out the feedback form that will be sent to your registered email ID by Monday. Stay with us till the end for the CPD quiz, your chance to win Amazon vouchers worth up to 5,000. We'll take a short break and return at 3:15 p.m. for our second session, Inquiry-Based Learning, Transforming Classrooms, again with Ms. Surbi Arora ma'am. See you shortly. Thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome back, super educators. I'm Yogendra Singh from Ashchan Publishing, your host for today's pedagogy based CPD series. In our first session, we explored how project based learning can make lessons more meaningful and relevant by connecting them to real world challenges. Now, in our second session, we turn to another powerful approach, inquiry based learning, a method that places curiosity at the heart of the classroom and transforms students into active participants in their own learning journey. Our speaker, Ms. Surbi Arora, is an award winning edu artist with over 15 years of experience in education. She holds master's degree in education, chemistry, and English, and is a certified career counselor, instructional designer, and Google Microsoft educator. An alumna of IIM Calcutta and IIT Patna, she has trained over 10,000 teachers and hosted more than 4,000 hours of professional development with expertise in curriculum design, technology integration, and innovative teaching strategies. She is here to guide us on how to spark critical thinking, inquiry, and deeper engagement in every lesson. Now, participants, some housekeeping rules. Participants will be muted throughout the entire session. Please ensure you have a pen and paper to note important information. The chat box will only be enabled during the Q&A round and as required by the speaker. To receive your e-certificate, please fill out the feedback form that will be sent to your registered email ID by Monday. Don't forget to participate in the quiz today after the last session. Stand a chance to win Amazon vouchers worth up to 5,000 rupees. Let's welcome back our inspiring Ms. Surbi Arora. Surbi ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Yogesh. Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen. I'm sorry. Just give me a second. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome back. And some of you have joined from the previous session, and some of you may have joined just now. I can see there is a question by Niyati ma'am regarding how we can use the PBL inquiry in the kindergarten. I will just finish that question. See, you have to keep it short and simple. You can keep hands-on activities. For instance, one project can be okay, farm to table. How does food comes to your plate? So can you just make a project around it, or can you just share something about it? Or we can talk about how do people and animals live there better, and can you just design a project around their homes. So the projects have to be simple. I can't go way beyond it because it will just kill away our time for inquiry based learning. We'll enter into now today's session, which is inquiry based learning, transforming classrooms into exploratory spaces. That's what we are going to discuss today in the second session that I have with all of you. I hope you have also had taken your lunch, or maybe you're just taking it along with the session now. I welcome back you once again. I would like you to quickly mention the name of your favorite scientist in the chat window. Your favorite scientist. Come on. Okay, so we have Nicholas Tesla, Mr. Abdul Kalam, Edison. We have Newton, Aryabhatta, Einstein, Volta, Rutherford. Okay, we have a lot of Kalam fans in the room. Sivaraman sir. Okay, fine. So we have a lot of fan following with a lot of scientists that I can see over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start with something very interesting. I don't know how many of you know about it. So I hope you can just recognize, and I've already mentioned the name over here specifically. So this is, just give me a second, everyone. Yeah. This is an image that we have of Sri Jagdish Chandra Bose Sir Acharya, and there was a project. I don't know how many of you know that while he was sitting like all of us, and he just had this idea. Okay, how do plants feel? Do plants feel anything? Do they feel touch? Do they feel emotions? Do they feel anything? And while he kept on looking at plants, and he kept on building that curiosity, that inquiry in his mind, that do plants feel anything? Do they feel or what how do is inside things happen inside them, or whatever he was trying to figure out that time. This simple question actually led to a big discovery that we all know about right now from him. So the simple question that he actually wanted to check. And we talk about he built an instrument just to see how plants respond. And this particular instrument actually became one of the biggest invention for us to know about plants, how they react to noise, how they react to sound, or how they react to different kind of parameters from air on. And that became an interesting discovery for all of us also to know about. Now, why do we talk about it? Because the inquiry starts with what if we could hear about what's happening inside a plant, or what if plants have emotions, what if plants can think, what if plants can sing, whatever was going inside his mind at that time. Now, a quick question for all of you. What have you wondered about? Has there been any question that you have been wondering about most of the stages and have gone in depths, inquiring about it? Any question? Any question that all of you have? I hope you have access to the chat section now. Yeah. Any question that all of you have in your mind? Okay, I have how do plants grow? Not specific to the plants, anything that comes to your mind. You can just share that question. Anything that has made you wonder a lot. Is there a life beyond sky? I think that is my favorite question also. About fingerprints. That's an interesting one. Okay. Is time traveling for real? We actually did a project for our children to actually identify and think about it. How do they manage the water stress? Okay, fine. Okay, do plants feel pain when leaves are broken? About climate. So all of us may have wondered one or the other question, and me hoping that I have all the science teachers in the room. I will get annoyed if any of my science teacher says that no, ma'am, I have not wondered anything. My science teachers for sure. And I would say not just science teacher, every human being or everyone we talk about may have wondered on one or the other thing in their life again and again. Now, while I'm talking about this question, this person I hope all of you are aware about, and this photo and the name is already written on the screen, so you can actually quickly answer it. Now, even he used to wonder. So he was traveling across the Mediterranean Sea, and then he was traveling through the ship, and then he saw the sky, and then he saw the water. And why is the sea blue? That's a question is coming to your mind. And he observed light scattering in different direction. And then while he was observing it, he had an opposite question, that is sea determining what's happening in the sky, or is sky determining what is happening in the sea? What is giving effect to whom, and who is affecting whose tendency to look different at that mind? And that all that curiosity and using simple tools to investigate and an observation power led to a powerful question and led to one of the biggest discovery that we know about the scattering of light. And then the biggest discovery actually also leading to the Nobel Prize for the most important person that we know, Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose. So all these investigation and this actually came up through questions, through various kind of questions that have been happening inside the mind, inside the brain, and that have catered to a lot of situations. Now, while we talk about it, there can be simple things that we do with our children. For instance, placing these two classes on the bench, one black and one white. And I have simple question for them. Which feels hotter, a black class or a white one? Many of you know the answer and you're already aware, because that's a benefit of being a teacher. You are slightly advanced compared to your children in terms of the facts and the knowledge. But while I'm doing so, that which one is and if I hold like these two glasses, I don't know if they're visible to you, and these two glasses, I think the other one is not visible because of the background, and ask you a simple question, which one is hotter? So how do I answer it? I will touch it and then I will answer it. You will actually observe practically by touching it and then answering. And that's what we do. When we're doing such simple paradox or simple question, a simple classroom paradox is this: why does the black paper feel hotter? You just place them and then you talk about it. What happens to the sunlight? Small question, but big science concept. And in order to teach all this, and in order to understand all this, and in order to observe all this, we don't have to be a Nobel Prize